Also got special new classes, such as we now have crossbows in the game. So the Romans especially are very heavily crossbow based. These are kind of really strong projectiles that deal a lot of damage and can crush through armour like no one's business. We've also got a lot of horse cavalry, so a lot of cavalry running now, which we didn't have previously, so there's a lot more of that. I really love the cavalry side of it. I think it's really strong. You've got lots of cataphracts, you've got these really, really heavy, kind of almost medieval, because it's the Dark Ages, so we're pushing in that direction. Heavy armoured cavalry which can tear through like entire formations of infantry. We've got the wonderful two-handed axe-holding units, the barbarians and the Saxons, who can tear through shields, and they're absolutely fantastic, as well as things like Franciscans and stuff who can actually throw their weapons into the melee. So yeah, strategy for all the factions. I think certainly compared to previous Total War titles, there's a lot more variance between all the factions. As I said before, you know, you've got the Sassanid strategies involved. I've got lots of friends, and if you mess with us, we're going to come over and fight you, but you've got to keep all your friends friendly. And then with the Romans, as I say, your strategy is very much one of consolidation and trying to hold on to what you already have, whereas for the Saxons, for example, it's a much more traditional experience where you're just expanding out across the campaign map. From the battle side of things, we've got sieges have had a lot of work put into them in this title. So you have siege escalation. So the longer you siege a settlement on the campaign map, the more damage it will take. When you actually load into battle, that damage is then reflected in the map. So walls could already be knocked down. You no longer need siege equipment to get into the settlement. You can just charge through the destroyed walls. And the defender has to deal with that. But the defender also has a few other kind of elements in their arsenal, such as the new barricade system, where there are pre-placed barricades around the settlement, which the user will be able to turn on while defending and deploying. Those then mean that units either will have to go around or take the time to actually knock down that barricade before they can progress into the settlement. One of the main changes is the kind of era in the Dark Ages, and we've really brought all those mechanics inwards. So the hordes are a really huge new feature for us, like we've not really had it in a Total War game before now. We've also got the climate change, which is kind of another one of these kind of catalysing forces for causing all these tribes to start migrating. So as you continue through the campaign, the snow line is going to move south. Winters in the north are going to get longer and longer. For example, in the tip of Scotland, you could have 3 or 4 turns of winter. And of course, when it's winter, you suffer attrition, you get less food, your fertility goes down. Fertility is something which lowers across the game, and you have to deal with the fact that the lands you're living in are no longer producing as much food or wealth as they would previously. Now we've reintroduced the family tree, which I think is a lovely new feature that we've got. The player's going to have to pay a lot more attention to what is going on kind of behind the scenes of their faction with the kind of individuals and characters involved. Characters will grow, they will improve. So for example, characters can become a retainer. They can actually be linked to another general who's more experienced themselves and gain abilities and traits over time based on the actions they've performed. However, these people might think, hey, I'm really powerful now, I don't want to be under the kind of thumb of this particular rule, so their loyalty will lower. And then at that point, they might break away from your faction. If they're a governor of a province, for example, they might take the entire province with them, and you've then got to deal with getting that back. Or if they're simply a general with an army, that army will then become a separatist and start trying to take back what they think they're owed. For me personally, I think the hordes are an absolutely fantastic new feature to the game. I think it's just a whole different gameplay style that players I think will really, really enjoy, because you haven't got this traditional city building style. You're literally having to kind of survive off the land and off other people's wealth, as it were. So you've got to go to someone else's settlement and start attacking and loot, take a load of gold, go away, come back in a few turns' time and loot it again to gain even more money.